This is a familiar scene for the Big Blue Nation. Between NCAA tournament games and Champions Classic matchups, tonight's game between the Wildcats and the Spartans will be the 7th time John Calipari's Wildcats have stepped foot on this court. Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Larry. Of course, Kentucky Derby. It's a Kentucky tradition, right? But one of the coolest parts I think about this day is seeing how much farther that tradition now stretches outside of the Bluegrass. I've certainly seen that already here this morning. Talking to some first-time Derby goers from all across this country. Anytime John Calipari opens the doors to one of his practices, you guys know we're going to take advantage of it. And when he does, it probably means he has something special in store for us. That was certainly the case today. You talked about clock management. Obviously, a huge part of that is how you were able to run the ball in the second half. From your perspective, what changed in the second half specifically to get the run game into a rhythm like that, really for the first time we've seen this season?
I think it was just repetition.
We've heard it over and over again tonight. This whole thing started with you. How did it come about in your words? Behind me right now are 10 brand new Wildcats practicing in a way that is so competitive. 2 of those new faces actually showed up to practice today in knee pads.
I was told I couldn't come back to practice without my knee pads on.
Who told you that?
Coach Elsie.
An incredibly emotional scene just moments after the Kentucky Derby finished running on this very track. We were standing in the winner's circle as the family and friends of the winner began to celebrate. I actually had the chance to catch up with the trainer's daughter. Here's her reaction to this incredible moment.
I'm in shock. I literally told my friends, I hope he doesn't finish last. We're praying for 9th. Like, please, midfield. I lost him during the race. I said, I don't know where he is. And it's because he was at the front and he won.
Kentucky basketball players have very little free time, so how do they choose to spend those rare, coveted off days? Well, that's the focus of our exclusive series with this year's Kentucky basketball team. And it's also the focus of our show today. Thanks for joining us.
This is probably something that a lot of people don't know because they just haven't, seen that part of me. They just seen the basketball side.
Is this a part of you that you share with other people ever?
I don't share this.
It starts with Tupac and it ends with Willie Nelson.
Why do you think it's important to find something sort of outside of basketball? I don't want to use the word like escape because you don't always need to escape basketball, right? But sometimes I would imagine that you do, right?
Yeah. Just take your mind off of basketball is a good thing. I feel like, just chilling and finding hobbies that you love doing and just getting your mind off that stuff is just healthy for you, So I always, do stuff like this just to take a day off and just, relax.
That was a way for me to stay in touch with my brothers and all my friends.
It motivates me to be able to get one of them one day.
I used to climb trees with my brother. Like my grandma back home, she had a house and she had a big tree right outside her house. And we used to climb the tree all the time. And that's probably where it started because I was always outside with my brother, just playing in the trees, just playing outdoors. So it was kind of always a part of me. No hands.
But sometimes it's just so nice to get away and be that kid again. Right. You don't have to worry about anything. You can just kind of be who you are and not have to worry about a lot of things.
Is that what it's like out here? Like
exactly.
You're a kid again?
Yeah.
We have to point out that you are wearing Crocs. Is this your normal soccer footwear?
No.
Do you think some of those skills translate to basketball at all?
Soccer really helped me in developing my football.
In your position, with your size and how you play the game, that's not a skill everybody has. Do you think that makes you different than other bigs?
I believe so.
The week break is massive.
You're right.
Does it feel like a long time? It's been a long time since you guys have had a whole week like that.
Yeah. We just went from playing 3 games in a week to now we're going to have no games in a week. So,
what are you going to do with all that free time?
Sleep.
Understand his decision, and that's what it was.
And then fast forward a year, and you're facing the same decision.
Yes.
What was that process like for you?
The crazy thing about it, he was trying to get me to come when he entered the transfer portal.
Right.
This is BBN Tonight.
Good evening, happy Monday, and welcome into BBN Tonight. I'm Maggie Davis.
Now it's good against good.
Yes, and I think Big Blue Nation is hungry for good on good, like you said. And Tom, actually, Michigan State, first team out of the AP this week. So receiving votes, definitely good. Tom, you heard us talking up top about that 2023 class, a historic collection of 5-star recruits all coming to Lexington next year. Listen to what Coach Cal said about the group as a whole.
4 if we go through Sunday. So.
All right, there you go. Yeah.
Tom, busiest guy we know. We always appreciate his time. Still ahead for us this evening, the men's soccer team had the best weekend out of any of us. Conference champions. We'll talk about that right after the break. You have had a lot of successful teams here over the years, but this was the first one to be unbeaten in the regular season. What do you think makes this group and this season different for you guys?
Well, I don't know if you've ever thrown a hammer. It's a hammer throw, but it's a stone.
Not every day.
I know, right?
Title IX has officially been the law of the land for 50 years, and because of that, about 40 years ago, women's varsity swimming officially came to the University of Kentucky. It wasn't a given. In fact, the club team was first elevated to varsity status after a lawsuit was brought against the university. In talking with members of that original team, one thing was clear: the program wasn't what it is now. They had to fight for pool time and warm-ups. They were looked down upon by other SEC swimmers. They even described themselves as a ragtag group. But it was the camaraderie, the competition, and most of all, the opportunity they remember the most. Before they started this 8-game win streak, they had a team meeting. They talked about it a lot this week. Kyra Elsie said she stood up and her main message was all about accountability. An absolutely incredible finish to this game. Obviously, I didn't play a single minute, and yet my watch kept telling me, you need to calm down. Kentucky basketball had its first consensus All-American since Tyler Eulis in 2016 with no real team achievements to show for it. No SEC title and not even a single win in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, and that's the crazy part about college basketball. So often teams and even individual players are remembered for what they do in the postseason. It has been absolutely crazy in here today as the Kentucky Wildcats defeat #1 South Carolina, and what a comeback by Kentucky in this one, down by as many as 15 in the third quarter, but the Wildcats never gave up. They stormed back for a 2-point win over the Gamecocks here in Bridgestone Arena. That makes 10 wins in a row now for the Kentucky Wildcats, your SEC champions, upsetting 3 ranked teams in the last 3 days, all culminating in this SEC title for just the second time in program history. It's first since 1982. Kentucky basketball, SEC champions. How does that sound?
It just rings. It comes off the tongue nicely when you say it like that.
When you walked up that ladder, eye contact with the Neds, could you even process what you were doing?
No. To finally get to go up that ladder is a blessing.
When Joe B. Hall arrived in Lexington, he was tasked with the impossible: become the head coach of the University of Kentucky men's basketball team and follow a legend while maintaining the standard set by Adolph Rupp in the decades before him. But he found a way to leave his own mark on this town, including a national championship in 1978, 2 additional Final Fours, and becoming a regular right here at Wheeler's Pharmacy. But today and all week, everyone at Wheeler's is saving a spot at the fountain for their friend and honoring him in a way that feels fitting, with a little bit of basketball talk.
They scared me last night.
I don't see how a team could play that bad and still win.
I don't either.
A good breakfast.
3 eggs over easy.
And even better stories.
They said, Tammy, can we borrow your car?
Jennifer Kaufman is a little different than the other women we've been talking about tonight and all month as we count down to the 50th anniversary of Title IX. These days, she's an adjunct professor at the University of Kentucky College of Law, teaching a judicial externship class. But Title IX has impacted her life in more ways than one. She's broken barriers and shattered stereotypes. This is the story of Jennifer Kaufman.
I just thought of the stereotypes that people have of cheerleaders and of federal judges, and they just couldn't be farther apart, right? You probably didn't know whether I was going to bounce down these stairs with pom-poms singing the UK fight song or walk in seriously in a black robe and pounding a gavel.
Throughout her life, Judge Kaufman has done both. After graduating from UK's College of Law in 1978, she began working as a trial lawyer.
I was a civil rights lawyer. Not until I was a couple of years in did I even have my first Title IX case. It was my very first introduction to discrimination. My partner, I still remember, tossed a file on my desk and said, here's a case, it involves Title IX. I don't know what to do with it, will you figure it out?
That case
set the direction of my career as a civil rights lawyer.
Judge Kaufman was appointed as United States District Judge for the Eastern and Western Districts of Kentucky. She was sworn in as Kentucky's first female federal judge on October 22, 1993. 14 years later, she was elevated to Chief Judge of the Eastern District of Kentucky. She was also the first woman to hold that position.
Well, you know that cheerleader stereotype, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you know, sometimes when you just smile and go in all prepared and just smile, people people underestimate you.
Big thank you to Judge Kaufman for talking with me for that story.